Can you hear me now?
We're having some technical difficulties, but we're back.
You know what? When I called you before, I could see you eating. And I know you could hear me. So I was like, this episode's brought to you by Lucky Charms. And then it was just you eating for like 45 seconds. And then all you heard was you go, hello, we're live. And then I hung up.
How did you hear me before you started?
I could hear you, but you couldn't hear me. So guys, this is the start of our podcast.
This is our plan to get Donald Trump on tape. We're gonna have him as a guest on the podcast and tell him we can't hear him while he starts conspiracy.
We should start getting guests at some point.
Who'd you like to have as a guest?
David Letterman.
Yeah, we could do that. Who else?
Or the guy from my coffee shop. He's there a lot. I think he's homeless.
No, well, he's booked.
He's booked the Letterman show.
Yeah, he's on Letterman's new Netflix show.
So we didn't record last week because of our hectic schedules.
That's it.
I was in bed, and Sean was driving aimlessly in Boston.
Right.
No. But we're back here now with Chief Shetty. And Sean, set it up. What are we talking about today?
Today, let's see. We got we're talking about making it either when you're young or when you're older, and how that kind of affects you or affects the audience, or even what the audience is. How about that? I just made that up.
Hey, that's good enough. Well, I mean, first of all, I think you brought up a good point. What is making it? This is pretty much applicable for all of show business. What is making it?
Well, it's not even show business, it's life. Making it is there's one step. Making it means you're able to sustain yourself with an income. That's one way of making it. And then after that, rising up in your whatever your industry is until you've reached your highest goals.
Could you say making it is just doing what you want to do and finishing goals? Like say you worked at Best Buy for the rest of your life and your goal was to write a book, and you just keep writing books at night and nobody reads it. And then isn't that making it? I mean, you're writing your books.
It's not. I don't know where you get that idea from.
Because there's so many authors who never had.
Did they make it? Yeah, no, they didn't. Do people know their name? Do the people know their work?
But they had success after they died.
So you're talking like, let's say Van Gogh, who had no success as a painter, but now his paintings are all worth millions of dollars. So yeah, in one sense, his art made it, but he didn't.
Right.
He's just a lunatic. Well, all right.
Well, there's so many authors. I mean, I think the person who wrote Moby Dick, I heard that he never attained commercial success till after he died. His book didn't go. I mean, I could be making this stuff up. I think I heard this somewhere. But, or that guy who was talking to you on the phone, Kafka, his books, he had success way later. Like, he never even thought his books were going to be published anywhere. Anyway, I'm just saying, like, what is I'm not arguing one way or the other. I'm just wondering, can you, because otherwise.
Look, if your goal is to be a DJ and the highest you achieve that is playing songs on a street corner and everyone wants you to shut up, that's not making it. But if you're able to have people appreciate what you do and pay for it, I think that's making it.
Because I agree with you. I don't know if paying for it, because I feel like the business can be so capricious that otherwise there's no happiness, because otherwise there's so many rules that you've got to hit to be like to get paid for something. that means you have to sell X amount of books. You can make an income. Is that the only way you can be happy? Because there's so
And well,
many.
you're talking about success and happiness. There's two different things.
Hmm.
Yeah, you can do whatever you want. You can write 18 novels in your lifetime.
Or even
Have
make a
none of
movie, or
them,
whatever, or
huh?
whatever. Even making whatever. I'm just saying art. I'm just saying writing novels as an example.
Yeah, I know. I'm saying anything. You can, you know, you can write songs. You can have 2,000 songs recorded. If no one's hearing them, no one's appreciating them.
Say you were an actor in I don't know, Bumbletown, Georgia, and you did community theater, and
Bumbletown is a lovely area. Okay, you should stop in for the pie. Amazing.
and and you do shows for the local community, and they're happy, but you're not like in some Paramount movie or some tentpole movie. Is that making it? I mean, I don't know. I mean, because I used to think, like, maybe because I'm just jaded right now as an artist, but I used to think when I started off that I had to be XYZ to be successful. And then as I've progressed, obviously I've hit some roadblocks here and there. I was like, well, maybe it's my perspective. Maybe I can look back at my body of work and be like, well, you know what? Like, I made DCOC. I know millions of people watch that show. I know I still get fan mail to this day. And I was like, oh, I made those people happy. Or my work on Showbiz India or Bobbycon, whatever. But then I'm like, well, maybe that's making it. Like, I actually put good work into the universe and hopefully improve someone's life for, you know, a few minutes. Maybe I can draw happiness from that. That's enough. Versus, oh, I've got to be Adam Sandler or something.
Uh, yeah, success is not. Well, I mean, if you really want to, we'll be clinical and we'll also be esoteric.
By the way,
Uh,
I don't know the answer to this. I'm still trying to figure. I wrestle with this every day. I'm like, well, maybe I'm just being too hard on myself for certain things.
let's see what the definition is. Success is the accomplishment of an aim or a purpose,
Mm-hmm.
or the attainment of popularity or profit, or a person or thing that achieves desired aims or attains prosperity. So to go back to your example of Bumbletown, was that what you called it?
Yeah, I mean, I was gonna swear, but I was like, why?
Right. So yeah, let's say someone who's never acted before uh, starts acting, and then they've made it as the lead for the play in their local community theater over a period of 4 years or something. That's success. They've moved upwards in whatever path they pursued. Now they might not be getting paid; it might be just for fun, but they achieved something. Uh, for me, I think success is moving up in wherever you are. So if you start at a baseline and you move up that baseline, that's success.
Yeah, I just it's hard to really.
But after that, then you can have goals. Now, what if this person in Bubbletown says, "I love community theater, but I want to see if I can contribute my acting to a larger audience. Can I make it to Broadway?" Maybe they go to New York. It takes them 8 years to get onto Broadway. That's success. After that, they're like, "Well, can I reach a larger audience?" Then they go to Hollywood. Now, what if they don't make it? Does that make them not successful? No, just in that one goal.
No, they one goal they failed.
But they went from Bumbletown to Broadway. That's a huge success.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think the attempt is. That's why I can never trash. I mean, I make fun of people, like, whatever, in jest in Hollywood, but I respect anybody who goes after it and makes the attempt, because in my mind, I think having a craft and then working at it to develop it and getting really good at it, that is something which, uh, a lot of respect. Like, in fact, I think I told you 2 days ago, like, I watched a lot of David Tell stand up
Mm-hmm.
because that guy's just a constant machine, even though, he kind of peaked with, his Insomniac show and stuff. This guy is still on the club tour, just churning out new jokes, writing incessantly. And, of course, that's who he is. He's on this mission to just improve himself as a stand-up comedian and just constantly push himself. So I feel like that is a great barometer of just an artist's success. Now, commercially, you could say, hey, look, somebody had a YouTube video and now they're cast in a movie and they suck and they made $1 million. Yeah, they had commercial success, but as an artist, do I respect them as they make it in their, artistic endeavors? No, but I mean, let's be real about it. They are now self-sufficient and they can do whatever they want, and that can lead to other things, and then they can use that to put in acting classes or whatever and become good. So there are different barometers, especially in LA. In fact, sorry to keep talking, but one of my good friends, I don't want to say his name, but he told me that when he was starting out, his goal was to be a working comedian, and he did that. He did all the Conans, did all the Lettermans, Tonight Shows, and he said he was like, yeah, I'm like Seinfeld in Seinfeld. I'm like a working comedian, but he was like, I should have put in my. He's like, now I'm trying to change my mindset where I want to be commercially successful. This is like traveling, 40 weeks a year is not good enough. Like I did it all, and now I want to make money. So you got to be very clear, which is why I love that statement. Keep your goals super high. Like reach for the stars because working it's great. You can probably do that, but if you're going to do it, I mean, just crush it. Make a shit ton of money too. There's nothing wrong with that.
I mean, you're thinking, very broadly, though. I mean, yeah, shoot for the stars, but you got to, if you're walking towards the stars, it's a long time to walk. So don't expect it right away. But of course, at the other end, if you have the ability or the talent or even the luck, you could jump all the way to your highest goal. So it's like I was saying to you before, in not on the podcast, your pathway is not always one way and not always
Right.
uh, you know one. You have different vehicles of getting there.
It's circuitous in different ways.
Yeah, like you're saying, Dave Attell is a great stand-up comedian. Been at it for 30 years now. And of course, there are more younger people for more recognition. I don't think David Attell feels like he's unsuccessful. Maybe I'm wrong, but I mean,
Oh, I didn't say he's unsuccessful. I think
no,
he's
I don't know how he thinks of himself as. I mean, is he a household name? No. Like I'm sure it's like he's friends with Amy Schumer. They
yeah.
have two wildly different career paths. It just comes down to if you're talking about entertainment, her product sells better than his product. Why? Because she's a woman who appeals to a larger group of women, and Dave Attell is a skeezy looking. No, I love David Attell.
Yeah. I mean, I've had the Amy Schumer talk with a few people years ago, and just through my comedy analysis, I feel like it's got to be the perfect storm for to have that kind of success. And with Amy Schumer, she was coming off of when she kind of sparked. It was when female comedians were like really just popping. Like Chelsea Handler opened that gate, and then they were trying to just there was Sarah Silverman, Chelsea Handler, and they tried to Whitney Cummings, and that kind of fizzled out. And then Amy Schumer came along, and just she was just in the right place or right timing. I don't know if that would have happened today, but back then, or who's the other? Eliza Schlesinger. I don't know if you know who she is. She's a stand-up comedian. So they were pushing a lot of female comedians in that window. So I feel like that perfect storm's got to come along. Or you know what? Here's another example. Like Dane Cook. When Dane Cook came along, they were trying to find another Dane Cook guy. So I think Anthony Jeselnik was another guy, kind of like that, good-looking young comedian. You know what I'm saying? So like comedy is show business in general, they find like this paragon of comics, whatever the fuck, and they try to like emulate that through some other iteration. And sometimes it works, and most of the time it doesn't. But they'll go through like 4 or 5 guys to try to find that clone.
Yeah, I mean, in show business, people forget about the business, and business. You're making a product. You want that product to sell.
Yep.
You want it to get out or appeal to the most amount of people. Uh, and you don't know. I mean, same thing. If you think about in the music industry, whenever something becomes popular, they want to recreate that and create more of the income. Like when Nirvana hit, obviously there were tons of Nirvana clones and bands that sounded like them.
Who
And
are the Nirvana clones?
well, one of the biggest ones was Bush. They're from England,
Foo
and
Fighters. I'm kidding.
no, no.
I'm kidding.
Uh, they had a very heavy sound
Yeah.
with a very handsome frontman. Uh, the songwriting was nowhere near as good as Nirvana, uh, but they just hit a lot of check marks. Uh, so they did become popular in the '90s, but you know, the audience dictates what they want to hear, and then their songwriting didn't keep up with the audience, and eventually they broke up.
Yeah. I don't. I mean, I'm sure it's happened. I just can't think of very many.
No, I mean that's the nature of the business. That's how it goes.
The
So for
business is
every
dumb.
well, what do you?
I mean, they do it with movies too. I mean, come on, everything they do that with movies, artists, bands, comedians, anything successful, they just
Would
try
you
to
feel
copy
like
it.
that if you were on the other end?
What does that mean? I don't. What does that mean?
If you were, let's say you were Bush, the
Hmm.
the equivalent of Bush. Someone was like, "Oh, we need to prop up another Indian American comic, and we're gonna push him, and because there's another Indian American comic, and we want the same type of product as him, but a little different. So we're gonna push you into the limelight and put you out there, and you gain quote unquote success and income and money. Would you feel bad then?
No, I mean, I wouldn't feel bad because I would know there's only one me, and they can do whatever they want. I'm gonna
But
be
there's
authentic.
not. The problem is there's not only one you. That's what everyone thinks. There's no
Yes,
for
there's
for
totally
every
is only
person who
one
thinks,
you.
huh?
This, as an artist, there's only one. Authentically, there's only one per. I mean, there's only one Nirvana, one Beatles, one Dan Cook. You can't copy that exactly.
Um, no, you're right. You're right. But there, like with any product, there's going to be things that are similar to it.
Sure, I agree with that.
Hmm.
So, which brings us back to the overall topic. Uh, what was it? Making it quickly or over
Well,
time? Is it bad
the
or good?
original conversation started because you were asking if there's a difference between making it when you're younger, like these newer YouTube stars, or if someone has a longer trajectory for success, like back in the day, like Rodney Dangerfield, who didn't have success until he was in his late 40s or 50s. And even uh, if you take one of the biggest success stories in television is Bryan Cranston. He
Right.
was a working character actor for 20 years, uh, sitcoms and dramas. And then, like you said, chemistry and luck came together to put him in Breaking Bad. And now he's an A-lister.
Right. Mm. You know, I've had a lot of conversations, and people kind of trash these YouTube stars. Like, they don't deserve it. Hey, man, I think if you do something that brings in an audience, and you're making someone happy or whatever, even if you're not the best at it, but you're still giving the audience what they want, there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, look, I could even make the argument. Back in the day, Johnny Carson was the guy. For people who don't know, Johnny Carson is. Don't listen to this podcast. So Johnny Carson's show, it was so hot. There's only so many networks. So if you did stand up on Johnny Carson, you became a celebrity overnight. Like if he gave you the thumbs up or called you over the couch, right? So there were comics, like literally 4 to 10 years in, not even that sometimes. Stephen Wright, I think, was like 2 or 3 years in or something. And he could make you a star overnight. And then, Drew Carey, I was listening to an interview with him. That guy like was introduced to showbiz through Johnny Carson. So I could say, hey, look, that's the equivalent of a YouTube star today. This going of a video going viral. So to make that argument, these old school comedians or whatever saying that, hey, you got to pay your dues. People didn't. You don't have to pay your dues. Like there's no rhyme or reason for anything in life.
No,
And
I mean it's a false analogy though, because the people who made it onto Johnny Carson were really did pay their dues, and they were vetted by Johnny's people, and they were, I think, playing in clubs for years and years.
Sean, I just said Stephen Wright was doing comedy 2 years. That was paying your dues. He's
Yeah, two
talented.
years. Yeah.
I'm not saying he's talented, dude. 2 years is nothing. There are
Well, to
guys.
you.
I mean, yeah, I mean, you're right. This is subjective. But I'm not saying they're not talented. They're definitely talented. But to create that buzz overnight, that was happening back in the 80s. That's all I'm saying.
Right, right. And the newer people, you say YouTube people, yeah, they're successful because they're reaching an audience that you weren't able to reach before. I mean, in the 80s, the only access kids had to entertainment was television, and basically, what you saw was cartoons or sitcoms,
Right.
and you didn't really have the ability to monitor how popular that was. I mean, I think a lot of kids watched Small Wonder, but it wasn't a huge ratings giant, and Vicky the Robot didn't become a star. Um, but nowadays with YouTube, you can see what the individual kids are watching and track it,
Yeah.
and but that doesn't necessarily mean that they'll keep those numbers. I mean, what you like when you're 10 changes to when you're 14.
Yeah. I think what's powerful about those YouTube stars is kids grow with the artist. Like, and maybe sometimes they outgrow them, but I would guess I'm just like, you know, conjecture here that they're in that because a lot of these YouTube stars they create this world that lets you into there. You know how like we were always talking about Adam Sandler and SNL, and I was like, oh my, I was in this guy's world for every Saturday night, or I still feel like I'm part of their lives. YouTube really encapsulates that. Like you feel like they share everything with their fans. So there's like this organic connection which just keeps going. So that's why they buy their books, they see their movies, they buy their makeup, whatever, they're hawking on YouTube. So it's a really powerful medium which I didn't really understand up until recently.
Um, yeah, yeah, right.
I wish was able to capitalize on that more. And it's just funny, like I just think there's going to be more platforms, even like Instagram. Instagram. You see these Instagram stars and stuff, but actually Instagram's very interactive. Like you can leave comments and you can go back and forth with stars, and Instagram Live. Like they're making it so you can be immersed in everyone's life. So is that what you have to do now to be successful as an artist? I don't know.
Uh, if you're 12, yeah, if that's who your audience is, 12 years old. I mean, I don't think Bill Burr cares about Instagram or YouTube or things like that. I mean, he obviously puts his content out, but
He does a podcast, right? Doesn't he do like a podcast every day where he just like rants wherever the hell he is?
I don't know if he has a podcast.
Yeah, I think he has a podcast. I think it's by himself too, where he just talks.
Hmm.
Um, so let me ask a question. So back in the day, do you think Marilyn Monroe and stuff would be hot today in today's with all the stuff going on today?
Yeah, I mean, there's always competition.
Because I feel like that's what made them. I mean, I wasn't alive in the '50s, but I feel like back then it was almost like this mysterious mystique about these artists and celebrities. Like, who are they? And now, like, who would you say? Would you say Kim Kardashian's the equivalent to Marilyn Monroe today? Like,
Who?
who's the Kim Kardashian? Like, who's the equivalent of Marilyn Monroe?
No, no. I mean, not Marilyn
Marilyn
Manson.
Manson.
Uh, Marilyn Monroe. I mean, she was a pretty movie star,
Mm-hmm.
beautiful. I don't know how she was.
But was she like the first? I don't know. I gotta research. Was she like the first
No,
like paparazzi?
no, no, no.
Media
She is actually
sensation.
more of a no, not at all. Her origins is that she started up as a pinup girl, and her real name was Norma Jane. So then,
What magazine and issue was that?
I don't. It was just. It was oh,
If you knew that,
right.
you're like Playboy, January 5th,
Yeah,
1948.
she was a Playboy model. Yeah. So then she cultivated this other character called Marilyn Monroe, and she dyed her hair blonde and became this character, and everybody was just infatuated. I think one equivalent to that right now might be Pamela Anderson.
She's kind of done.
I'm not talking. So you mean like 2018?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, women do it all the time. They change everything to become what is needed in the media.
Yeah. I just don't know if that would. I guess there's a difference between movie stars and these internet stars. Because I guess yes, there are always going to be these, hot leading lady chicks, whatever, girls, women. But the YouTube thing, social media, it's almost invented this new age of celebrities, which really didn't exist 10 years ago.
Right,
And
right. But
now,
again, it's not like so they're appealing to a large demographic of people who don't have income, mainly kids, 12 to 16,
what about
17.
Bieber? Wasn't Bieber discovered on the internet?
Yeah, he was. He was.
That guy's really talented. Even though people trash him, I think he's talented.
He is actually, yeah. But yeah, and that's a good example of like back in the day, that would be like Macaulay Culkin. Super talented kid, but exploited by everybody. And then you just have this weird attitude about life and how to act. You think you can do whatever you want. And he went through that period of, of doing whatever he wanted and acting like a dick. And I think now Justin Bieber's like become a born again Christian or something now.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, and I've said that Morgan Freeman stuff today, but I feel like there's a lot of celebrities who just do whatever they want, and now it's just coming out. That's another podcast. Just celebrities.
Well, we're shooting the Shetty, so we can talk about that too. Breaking news: women have accused Morgan Freeman of being inappropriate with them, and I just saw a statement he made. He says, it wasn't my intent to be like that, which to me comes off as he did come from a different time and acted a little too loose with women.
Isn't this the guy that had an affair with like his granddaughter or something?
Well, I read about that. It's not confirmed. The granddaughter died at the hands of her boyfriend, and the boyfriend was saying that the granddaughter had an affair with Morgan Freeman, step granddaughter, but he was also schizophrenic on drugs, so we're not sure if it's true or not.
I don't know if I buy the whole "hey, I'm old, different time" thing, because even Charlie Rose, there were like 30 more girls came out or something accusing him, and he was like, "Well, it wasn't my intent," but like, come on, we both know old people, they don't act like that just because they're from the 1950s.
They do.
When they just like grab your dress or just eye you up and down. Like that's like human decency, right?
No, I mean, we realize it because we've seen these changes in the last 20 years about how to treat people. Um, if you were in your 20s in the 60s and 70s, and you grew up that way,
Cosby.
Cosby. No, see, that's the difference. See that there's a difference. Okay, Cosby was a predator who actively did things to have sex with women. Morgan Freeman right now is the equivalent of saying inappropriate things, and I think that's not criminal. It's rude, and it shouldn't be tolerated, but it's not criminal.
We're just starting to see where this goes. But, but someone's gonna come out with some other stories.
No, because I think by now we're what, like 9 months from the Me Too movement. So I think all the journalists know they have to completely vet their stories and sources. And yeah, obviously a reporter heard some rumors and chased them, and that's what they came up with.
I just read in the Times today they might arrest Harvey Weinstein.
Yeah.
So
So there is a difference. I mean, one is criminal, one is inappropriate and rude and shouldn't be tolerated. And if you want to go, keep going on that topic, there's this new news about the cast of Arrested Development,
yeah, I saw that.
how they treated Jessica Walters. Uh, yeah, Jason Bateman was basically saying, "Hey, we're actors. We're in the business. Sometimes we get emotional. And we can act like that." And like the other two women in the cast are like, "What? No, you can't act like that."
Man, let me tell you though, when I read that though, I understood what Jason Bateman's saying because when I was working the agencies, man, I would see behavior that you would get fired and then or you would like commit someone to like a psychiatric ward. There's people just yelling full force or throwing things. I'm like, how is this tolerable in a normal environment?
So actually, this comes up a question I wanted to ask you uh, for another podcast, but we'll bring it up now. The different types of people in the work environment and how things get done. So, in your experience, does that help when someone is yelling at you and throwing things and throwing a tantrum to get things done?
I mean, no, it depends on the individual. I mean, for me, I remember there's one guy. He worked with his talent agent at UTA, and the guy was the screamer, and the kid had like acne breakouts, and it was just like he was saying that he had to see a therapist, and I think he like quit that desk after like 3 or 4 months, and it was like, how can that possibly help in that 4 months? You get your work done if you have these health issues. Other people, I think it's more just you have a different set of standards of what you can take, what you can't take. So it never helped me when I was working for people that yelled a lot. I mean, I was on my toes, but I mean, I probably wouldn't have lasted long if I knew that I was going to get reamed every day.
Do you know where that culture comes from?
Yeah, it's just um, the fact that you can do whatever unwarranted behavior with no punishment. So it just encourages that, and then you work for someone like that, and then it just kind of trickles down, and you feel like that's how I have to act. In fact, I've got friends who are managers now. I don't even talk to them anymore because they're just dicks now because they work for assholes, and then they feel like they have to be an asshole, and it's just this dumb culture. So when I read Jason Bateman's statement about yelling, I was like, okay, so this is just prima donnas. I mean, I work for celebrities too who are like that, who are just they feel like they can do whatever they wanted because they're a celebrity. It just Hollywood is a different beast where people can. There are no rules on how you can act, and it's unchecked behavior, and you can be a dick, and nobody cares if you're making money. Doesn't matter. unless there's a guy at APA I worked for. In this Me Too thing, I worked for two guys that got fired. I worked directly for two guys. And everyone knew that they were doing all this shit, but like nobody said anything because they were making a ton of money. Only after, the media, caught on and became like news stories, they got fired. But it had to get to a certain point, it had to go to a boiling point where, shit hit the fan before they were terminated. Like, otherwise, nobody cares. Sorry, that's how the business is, and I don't think it's going to change.
Which is interesting because yelling at someone to make them do something. I have experience with that in the medical field. Uh, you know, when you're teaching students how to be a good doctor, uh, sometimes, and this is documented in the TV show Scrubs. Sometimes you want to belittle the person for their lack of knowledge or for how they do things because people think it makes them a better doctor or better uh, at knowing things. And the difference is with medicine and entertainment, it's life saving. Okay, because if a doctor yells at you to remember this adverse event of a drug in a patient with a certain disease, you're going to remember it, especially if he belittles you in front of a whole bunch of people. uh, I don't know how that fits into entertainment because just because someone yells at you to make a phone call, I don't think it's life and death.
Yeah, I mean, I guess as an assistant, you're required to like kind of run that ship. So, you know, you can lose business and lose money. So even though I don't think that's nearly as important as saving a life, for agents, that's a big deal because you have to make money, otherwise you're gonna get fired and then you're done. So the way you, that's why people were very. I had a great boss at UTA. He was a reality agent, and he was very firm, and he corrected me in a lot of things. And he didn't yell, but he was very firm and could, you know, raise his voice a lot. But I learned a lot from him in terms of how to my day to day. Then I worked for another boss who would just yell for no reason or just get mad over dumb shit where there was no learning curve at all. He would just explode for no reason. So that's a shitty boss. So I think there's different approaches. I remember being at a desk once and I heard a super powerful lit agent yelling at his assistant. You know what a phone sheet is? Basically, a phone sheet is calls that you owe. So basically, when you roll calls, the agent will be like, "All right, who do we got next? We got Steven Spielberg. Then we got James Cameron." So he was yelling at his assistant because he was reading the phone sheet the wrong way, and we could hear him from down the hall. I was like, "My God, this is ridiculous."
So how does that help with the business?
I don't think it helps at all. That case doesn't help at all. But that guy's a partner at UTA, so nobody even cared.
I mean, and especially, I mean, I've never worked in corporate America, but I don't think that behavior works in corporate America either. And I mean, especially they have HR and everything.
What's Steve Jobs? Wasn't Steve Jobs notorious for? I don't know. Wasn't he yelling at people left and right and
Uh,
firing people?
I've heard that. Yeah, yeah. But I mean, yeah, you're right. They say he had a temper.
I don't know. I really don't
So
know
that's
what the answer
that's
is.
that's the. Would you? So you don't think someone like Steve Jobs is better compared to someone with a softer tone or touch?
I can't defend one way or the other because I mean there are some very successful people who yell a lot and they have great business.
Well, you've had experience creating things and being basically the boss. How did you get things done?
I never yelled at people. I mean,
But if someone wasn't either on an actor level or a production level, how did I'm sure you had difficulties with both.
yeah, and where I explain, I mean I've never had uh, power over someone where I can just where they were like living off of me. But whenever I had a problem, I would explain them. So we're working together as a team, right? And the way whenever project I do, I set the tone of like my work ethic. People know like whatever. I'm not going to ask you to do something that I wouldn't do myself. Even like getting lunch or I'll do that if I have to. I'll do whatever I have to do to make sure the project gets done. And that's why I'm very selective about who I bring on my teams when I make stuff because one is mindset, two is can you execute. But I remember I shot this commercial and I had this guy who was like a family friend, whatever, and he messed up the lunch order. Like he didn't get my lunch or something, and I was paying him for the day too. That's the thing. I was paying him. It's like, dude, all you have to do is like get the lunch, and he messed that up. And I was like, you know what, whatever, dude. You know what, life's too short. I'm not going to yell at him. I was like, am I going to get mad? And I was like, this is fine. Who cares? But if he was working for me, I would have definitely told him, look, you got to be more attentive to detail because this cannot happen again. Only because as a person, I want them to learn and grow and become a better human being, especially in show business. You have to have your shit together. That's why, like, my God, if you don't have that incident, I told you about this. I don't want to go into this, but if you drop the ball on small stuff, which is totally unavoidable because you're just a retard, you need to fix that. Otherwise, I'm not going to do business with you because that's going to slow me down, and I just have no tolerance for that. I think you have to have a tolerance for people around you and who you surround yourself with, which is why I can't blame guys at UTA who yell at their assistants because you know what? They'll find the right person, and they'll be in sync with that person, and that person might have a great career. So you can do whatever you want if you're the boss.
Right, right. So basically, you're in a work setting, you're much more tolerant, and you feel that that goes over better than yelling and creating more chaos.
Well, not tolerance in the sense of just you have to rectify the mistake, whatever that is. Otherwise, it'll keep happening again and
Right, right,
again.
and it's the execution of that of rectifying the mistake. Some people are yellers, and get extremely mad and. But you're saying the way you would rectify it was just take them aside and be like, "Hey, buddy."
No, hey buddy, let's go grab a beer. No, I mean you just tell them exactly. Look, it's still business at the end of the day. So they told us this in the mailroom when I was an assistant. They were like, you either have it or you don't, and that's so true. People who don't have it can't take it, and they usually just quit. But you have to have a certain organizational demeanor in terms of how to talking to people and doing your work, making sure shit gets done, not dropping the ball. It sounds really simple, but it's really not. Just the slightest attentiveness to detail can make a huge difference in the long run, especially my God, when you're negotiating these contracts, dude, these contracts, such a headache, man, and they can easily fall through the cracks, and you can easily mess it up if you're not on top of it.
Mm-hmm.
And luckily I had some good bosses that taught me that. But I've had other bosses who were just stupid. It was like, oh my God, that's who I don't want to be. So I don't know, man. I think you've got to go through it. If you ever decide to go in entertainment business, you'll see it up close and personal.
Right, right. But I mean, all those attributes you attributed or talked about that are needed are the same in medicine. You got to be on the ball. You got to know your stuff.
Yep.
You got to have an eye for detail. Um, but again, to me, and I guess the only difference is one is concerned with life, other one is concerned with money.
Yeah, everyone's stupid. It's fucking entertainment. It's really not that important, to be honest. I mean, I guess it is.
Yeah, I mean, the most famous example is the movie Swimming with Sharks. I'm sure you've seen that, right?
Yes.
Yeah, and it actually, in the end, it turns out the person who was being harassed, unnecessarily harassed, uh, became what he didn't want to become. in order to get ahead.
Yeah, it transforms you. It definitely transforms your mindset.
Hmm.
I always wonder what I would be like if I didn't work in the business side of entertainment. Because there was a time I was just a stand-up comic, and then I spent like 8 years in the business side of entertainment. So I'm like, well, what would I have been like if I would I maybe I'd be exactly the same. But I think it was educational. It was almost like my entertainment business school.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I'm sure you learned a lot. So,
I learned how to
making,
sexually harass young interns.
and you'll be hearing about this soon. Uh, so, do you think coming back to, let's say, different types of people in the workplace, the ones who are working in Hollywood are very type A, very aggressive go getters, and there's no room for type B who are softer and more laid back?
No, I think you've got to figure out where your skill. I mean, there's certain jobs that require certain personality types, but I've seen both function. I've seen really nice laid back guys in the agent world. Really, it's really lucky because on the business side, it's really about your clients, and you can luck out by having the right client, and you can make a ton of money. So even you might not do anything, but you somehow signed some A-list star who blew up overnight, and then the deal. It's like you're basically the business is just picking up the phone and saying hello because you got deals coming at you left and right. Then you got other clients that do nothing, and you got to like just hustle 24/7 for them. So you have to be that A-type personality. So it's kind of like showbiz, right? There's no rhyme or reason. Some people, the people who are agents who I started out with, some of them are like totally mediocre, but they just kept showing up every single day, and they never left that job, which is fine. Um, I honestly think I could out hustle them, even though they're probably making more money than me now. But I feel like from everything I've done, from producing whatever, I can definitely, if you were to put us both in a room with a phone and that's it, I think I would come out on top only because I was forced to do that. But again, there's no rhyme or reason for anything, and a lot of it's just circumstantial.
Yeah, and we'll circle it back around to the original topic. You know,
Adam Sandler.
always Adam Sandler. Uh, making it when you're younger and making it when you're older. I think when you're older, you kind of learn all these lessons, and you learn that things are capricious. And even if you're either type A or type B,
We're all gonna die.
yeah, there you go.
All right. Well, it's good, Sean. Let's wrap it up there. Glad we
Hmm.
think we covered a lot.
Hmm.
I think people learned a lot today.
Hmm.
Learned that I can still be coherent while drinking a 40, 12 o'clock.
You've been drunk for 3 days.
I don't drink, but I do drink a lot of coffee. I had 3 coffees yesterday. So,
Coffee is code for heroin.
did you see that Mark Maron episode? Maron, I think it's on YouTube, and he tells a Starbucks person, he goes, "You're just a drug dealer. You're a glorified drug dealer." I was like, "Hey, they're kind of right."
What?
Because caffeine is like I got coffee yesterday because it makes me happy, and I was like, oh, it basically is a drug to make me happy. So Marin was like, in the show Marin, he tells the Starbucks guy, he's like, you're just a glorified drug dealer or something. Pretty funny. I'll forward you the clip.
All right.
All right, thanks guys for listening. Have a great week.
Bye.